Coming up this morning on Sunrise, search and rescue operations in the Hill Country were put on hold after heavy rain hit the area. We'll have the latest. Plus,
as recovery efforts continue in Kerrville, one Taft pastor is doing his part. I'm Adam Beam in Taft, looking at why he says having faith is more important than ever.
Ever wonder what emergency warning systems are in place in the Coastal Bend? I'm Ana Conejo in Corpus Christi, speaking to an emergency management coordinator about what's in place and how this works.
good morning, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to Chris 6 Sunrise. You're waking up with the Hoffmans. I'm Michelle Hoffman.
And I'm Brian Hoffman. Oh, yes, brand new week filled with opportunities and filled with a bit of sunshine, I'm hoping, to bring on in our own ray of sunshine. Miss Julia Quady, how you doing this morning?
Hey there, good morning, guys. I'm doing well, and I'm bringing in the sunshine forecast-wise. We're looking at mostly sunny conditions all throughout this week. No chance of really any beneficial rainfall, I might add, in that forecast as well. Before we go ahead and get into that, let's actually go over what you can expect heading out the door traffic flow-wise. Right now, heading from Ocean Drive down to SPID and on Saratoga, no traffic issues on any of those three roadways this morning, so you're looking at very easy driving conditions right now if you're heading on any of those three roadways at this moment. Moving now towards Flower Bluff, looking at an easy drive heading to and from both directions, I should say, on Flower Bluff Drive. Same thing pretty much on Waldron Road as per usual. Each and every morning, getting a little bit closer towards that gate at NAS Corpus Christi. You can expect a little bit more slight congestion with slower speeds that you're going to encounter there at this moment. And then heading on over towards the JFK Causeway, going to and from the island, pretty much the same conditions across most of our roadways this morning. Things are looking pretty good for your drive heading out the door there. Now, again, for that forecast, we're looking at a bit of a dry spell right now for us here in the Coastal Bend. Going to have more Saharan dust on the way this week too. So I'll have more details when we expect your full forecast coming up in the next few minutes.
Julia, thank you for that. So ground search operations in the Hill Country on Sunday, at least, were suspended after heavy rain and flooding in Kerrville happened yet again. The rain and raising water levels prompted some road closures. The National Weather Service says that it is possible that the river will continue to rise as the rain does continue. Rescue workers have been searching for the victims of the July 4th floods that claimed at least 129 lives. More than 170 people are still missing too. Some 2,000 local, state, and federal personnel are taking part in the search and recovery operations.
Pastor Steve Botcher of Taft is doing his part to assist those affected by the deadly floods in Kerrville. The pastor set up shop and invited neighbors to bring any items to help those in need, and Taft neighbors delivered. The donations itself were delivered on Friday. Neighborhood News reporter Adam Beam caught up with Botcher, who emphasized the importance of the donations and having faith during times of crisis.
Prayer gives us strength, and it gives us the knowledge that God is there for us. Can I say, keep them both feet on the ground.
Now, folks, make sure you stay tuned to our 20 minutes of nonstop news for Neighborhood News reporter Adam Beam's full story.
So we do have some sad news for you folks to report out of Bishop Police Department. The interim chief there tells us Captain Tony Macias has passed away after battling cancer. We first told you about Captain Macias back in December. He had been told he had stage 4 cancer on Thanksgiving Day. Tony Macias had worked in law enforcement for nearly 15 years. The last 5 years had been with the Bishop Police Department. We send our condolences and our prayers to his family, friends, and fellow officers with the Bishop Police Department.
In your national headlines now, President Trump says he'll make a major statement about Russia today. The president made the announcement during an interview with NBC News last week. It's unclear what the announcement will be. However, the president has posed the possibility of additional sanctions against Moscow for its continuing war with Ukraine. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate is considering a bill that would impose its own sanctions on Russia. It comes as Moscow upped its attacks against Ukraine last week, sending hundreds of drones over the border and damaging a maternity hospital in Kharkiv. Scripps News Group Joe St. George will join us at 6:12 with the latest.
And President Trump has announced a 30% tariff on goods imported from Mexico and the European Union. The new tariff rates will go into effect August 1st. Trump posted the letters to European Commission President and Mexican President on social media Saturday. He threatened the rates will go even higher if a country retaliates with their own tariffs. The move comes after Trump announced increased tariffs against numerous countries, including Canada, Japan, and even South Korea.
Ever wonder what emergency warning systems are in place in the Coastal Bend? I'm Ana Conejo in Corpus Christi, speaking to an emergency management coordinator about what's in place and how this works. Deadly flooding in Central Texas has residents in Corpus Christi questioning how prepared the city is for sudden weather events. While some feel confident in the city's hurricane response, others say more needs to be done for flash floods. Emergency officials say they're using data and technology to plan and urge the public to stay informed through the city's website.
Hey there, good morning. Happy Monday. Heading out the door, you're going to notice a bit of a difference in terms of how things are going to feel across the Coastal Bend. We're going to see more humidity, more moisture on the way, leading towards some oppressive heat that's going to be in store for us all throughout our work week, with also a return of Saharan dust coming back into the area. So more details on that in the next few minutes. Right now, let's go and take a look at our current temperatures and feel like temperatures across the area, showing that things are off towards a bit of a muggy note, especially for areas that are along the coast, sitting towards those lower 80s here in Corpus Christi down to the Bluff, going further up north near areas like Rockport. Also looking at those temperatures reaching in that same zone, upper 70s going further inland. But either way, those feel like temperatures are still going to be ranging toward those 80s or maybe even approaching those lower 90s for some neighborhoods right now at this hour. So it's already giving a bit of a showcase or a bit of a tease here in terms of what we can expect as we head towards this afternoon. Looking at our hour-by-hour forecast, starting off on a cloudy note for us here in the Coastal Bend, eventually looking at partly sunny conditions and then mostly sunny skies as we head towards the later hours this afternoon. You can also see that gradual increase with our temperatures slowly approaching those upper 80s by 10 o'clock this morning and then well into the afternoon, then reaching those lower 90s for our afternoon temperatures. We can also see a continuation of those breezy conditions from last week and since this past weekend still lingering in our forecast as well. Going to continue to see those winds coming in from the southeast going near 15 to 20 miles an hour. We are getting a bit of a break though as it relates towards our wind gusts. Last week we saw our wind gusts going upwards of 35 miles an hour. Not going to be the case for us today, at least on this Monday. Seeing those wind gusts going only nearby 25, maybe up to 26 miles an hour during our afternoon, and then starting to decrease towards those teens as we head towards tonight. So overall, looking at our forecast for today, looking at a high temperature of 94 degrees here in Corpus Christi, starting off cloudy, then looking at partly cloudy conditions, then mostly sunny maybe for some areas as we head towards this afternoon. Still a continuation of those hot and muggy conditions that we're going to feel this morning. It's going to last all throughout our work week. So look at our muggy meter. We can see we're just going to be going back and forth a bit between that very humid to oppressive zone here in the Coastal Bend all throughout this week, heading towards this weekend. So that means no really significant changes on the way in our forecast in terms of this oppressive heat that's going to be in store for us. So much so that we're still going to be looking at across the Coastal Bend, at least in that moderate zone for heat risk or even that major risk for some inland neighborhoods. It's going to get a little bit more bigger and increase a bit for some inland portions of Coastal Bend ahead for us tomorrow. So again, in terms of that forecast, no big changes on the way. Kind of be a bit of a carbon copy each and every day with sunshine, temperatures reaching at least towards those lower 90s. Feel like temperatures well into those triple digits with more Saharan dust on the way by midweek.
President Trump is expected to make a big announcement about Russia. Coming up after the break, Scripps News Group Joe St. George will join us with the very latest. Welcome back, folks. 6:11, almost 6:12 on your Monday morning. We're taking a live look from our WADA Skycam. Turned around, looking at downtown Corpus Christi. Looking pretty tranquil right now. We're going to be checking in with our meteorologist Julia Quady in just a little bit. But first, we head to Washington. President Trump is expected to make a major announcement about Russia sometime today.
Yeah, to talk more about this, we bring in Scripps News Group Deputy Political Director Joe St. George. Good morning, Joe. So it's unclear what the president's announcement could be, but we're thinking it could have to do with the possibility of additional sanctions against Moscow for its continuing war with Ukraine.
Potentially, or more military equipment flowing to Ukraine. What's been abundantly clear in recent weeks is a shifting tone and a shifting attitude from President Trump to President Putin. You know, in the early days of this Trump administration, certainly on the campaign trail last year, it was rare for President Trump to criticize President Putin publicly. And foreign policy experts that I've spoken with here in Washington have said there was a strategy that if you appease Putin, maybe he'd come to the table, and maybe that's the way President Trump would get a ceasefire. Ending the war, remember, was a big campaign promise. Well, now we're about 6 months into the Trump administration, this Trump administration, and it isn't working. Overnight, another round of attacks, of drone attacks on Ukraine. The United Nations reports that June was one of the deadliest, bloodiest months in the entire war. So I know people waking up in South Texas may be wondering, man, they're still talking about Ukraine, Russia. It all sounds a little bit like white noise. No, it's been a very bloody last few weeks in Eastern Europe, and that's frustrated President Trump. Last night on the tarmac, speaking with reporters, and I'm quoting now, "I'm very disappointed with President Putin. I thought he was somebody that meant what he said, and he'll talk so beautifully, and then he'll bomb people at night. We don't like that." So that's what the president said last night. He's meeting with the NATO Secretary General this week as well. That suggests that perhaps more than just Patriot missiles may be flowing to Ukraine. That's something that President Zelensky wants. And you mentioned the S word, sanctions. Where I'm at on Capitol Hill, a bipartisan group of lawmakers have been ready to go for months on new economic penalties for Putin. There is a growing sense on Capitol Hill and in Congress that President Trump may be willing to give the green light to that legislation. That would potentially do things such as use frozen Russian assets, give them essentially to Ukraine, and have Ukraine use that money to help fight Russia, or target countries that have been buying Russian energy. We'll wait for the president's, quote, major announcement. We'll see how significant it is. But one thing we don't have to wait for is the president has changed his tone when it comes to President Putin.
Well, thank you so much for the information, Joe.
Always great insights, sir. Looking forward to talking again very soon.
Hey there, good morning. Happy Monday. So starting off this work week, things are going to be off towards a bit of a cloudy note, I should say, this morning, heading out the door, but things are going to still be very muggy all throughout the coastal bend. We're going to be expecting some more oppressive heat all throughout the area this week, with another round of Saharan dust coming in by Wednesday, but I'll have more details we expect on that note in my full forecast in the next few minutes. Right now, let's go ahead and take a look at this view from our Whataburger Field sky cam pointed over towards downtown Corpus Christi. Can make out those mostly cloudy skies that we can see across our area here at the moment. Now, temperature-wise, things are going to be, again, off towards a very muggy start for us here, seeing temperatures reaching toward those lower 80s or maybe a little bit on a lower scale, heading toward those upper 70s for areas that are further inland. Either way, you can see those feel-like temperatures, those yellow numbers to the right. We can see those values are still reaching toward those upper 80s, approaching those lower 90s. So it's already a key indicator that we're starting off warm this morning and things are only going to pick up as we head towards this afternoon. Let's go ahead and get into a bit of an update on what's happening in the tropics right now. We do have this area of low pressure that is now starting to formulate nearby the coast of the Sunshine State here, of course, portions of the Northwest Gulf. So we can expect that this area of low pressure is going to develop some pretty heavy downpours, some thunderstorms potentially for the state of Florida. Now, right now, the area of low pressure only has a bit of a 30% chance of formation over the next 7 days. We'll continue to monitor that and see what happens with that system if we get our next named storm potentially of this season. Now, for us here at home, no rain is expected in the forecast at all for the most part this week. Things are going to be very dry for us here in the coastal bend. Now, looking at our planner for today specifically, again, starting out cloudy, eventually going to see some clearance of that cloud cover and eventually looking at some more sunshine as we head towards the afternoon. Temperatures reaching toward those lower 90s. We can see a little bit of some passing haze potentially as we head towards the afternoon, as we see a slight dusting of Saharan dust making its way to the coastal bend by midday, heading towards lunchtime. But other than that, still looking at a bit of clear conditions for us for now before our round of Saharan dust makes its way by Wednesday. Now, looking at our feel-like temperatures, they're going to be definitely off towards a hotter note, reaching towards 106 by 2 o'clock this afternoon. So we're starting to see a bit of a trend of our feel-like temperatures now reaching slightly above the lower end of our 100s, now starting to approach to maybe upper 100s, approaching the 110s throughout some neighborhoods this afternoon. Wind gusts going upwards nearby 25 miles an hour, so still seeing a continuation of those breezy conditions in the forecast for us here in the coast coastal bend as well. Now, along with those southeast winds, which of course provides that ample moisture, is going to add towards that continuance of oppressive or at least very humid conditions that's going to extend in the coastal bend all throughout this week, even heading towards your upcoming weekend. So each and every day for us here at home is going to be a little bit of a copy and paste. Still looking at sunshine, still looking at warm temperatures, feel temperatures reaching towards those triple digits as well. With our next round of Saharan dust, it's only going to give us a bit of a change up in the forecast with more drier conditions by the midweek.
Well, it is the start of the week, folks, and some of you may have waited to fill up the tank. Got some good news coming up. Prices went down a little bit. We'll take a closer look and give you the very cheapest around town when we come back. Welcome back, folks. It is Monday, beginning of the week filled with opportunities, but will it be time to fill up that gas tank? Well, I've got good news for you. Prices actually went down after that massive jump we saw last week. We're taking a look at the prices around the country and right here in the coastal bend to maybe help your dollar go a little bit further. Starting off with the national prices, $3.11 for a gallon of gas. That's according to GasBuddy. That's down by 6 cents since Friday. That's the Lone Star State doing a bit better, $2.74 for a gallon of gas. That's down by 6 cents since Friday. We can always do better here in the coastal bend, though, right, folks? Taking a quick look, third place goes to Sunoco on McCardle and Ennis Jocelyn at $2.71. These are all Corpus Christi prices, by the way. Second place goes to Valero on Saratoga and Staples, $2.69. First place, winner chicken dinner, goes to Valero on Ronfield Road and Saratoga, $2.68. What about our Portland friends? Well, the cheapest I found is $2.65 at most of the stations around Portland. If you happen to find any bit more expensive, maybe drive down the road to get that cheaper price. For our island friends, it looks like everyone's in agreement, right? $2.85 is what you're going to pay on the island at all of the stations I was able to find on GasBuddy. As always, if you're able to find cheaper prices than these that I have mentioned, might be worthwhile stopping and filling up while you can.
All right, good morning. Happy Monday. Taking a live look outside of our First Community Bank Skycam atop the USS Lexington. We can make out those mostly cloudy skies starting us off on this Monday morning. Focus on that traffic flow. Things are moving well heading to and from the Portland area on our new Harbor Bridge. Of course, you're going to be heading on North Beach. You're still using the old Harbor Bridge, where traffic flow is still looking to be pretty decent at this hour. Let's go and take a look at our traffic flow map, see what you expect on other roadways to start you off on this Monday morning. You can see heading from Ocean Drive down to SPID and on Saratoga, all three of those roadways shining with that shade of green, letting you know that things are moving well on through all those three roadways right now at this hour. Moving on over to Flower Bluff, all clear on Waldron Road and on Flower Bluff Drive. Got some improvement now as you start to approach the gate NAS Corpus Christi. Earlier we were moving at a bit of a slower speed, now looking at a median speed at worst right now in terms of your driving conditions. But of course, again, that's the normal heading up in that area each and every morning here. And then taking a look at our JFK Causeway going to and from the island, we saw that things are moving pretty well right now at this hour if you're heading in that direction. That's it for your Traffic. With details in your forecast coming up.
I'm Tony Jaramillo on the south side. Girls in Corpus Christi will soon be part of a nationwide surge in flag football, and they're just getting started.
Now, weather on the 6s.
Happy Monday. Right now taking a live look outside of our CCAC Skycam over Snoopy's Pier. I'm looking at a mostly cloudy view, seeing some gorgeous hints though of that sunrise beyond the JFK Causeway there. Now, I can tell you things are going to be off towards a very muggy note for us here in the coastal bend, looking at those temperatures already reaching excuse me, towards those lower 80s. Can see those feel temperatures also approaching those 90s throughout some neighborhoods too. So that's already a key indicator that things are going to be very hot and oppressive for us here in the coastal bend. Let's go ahead and get into what else you can expect in the forecast for us this week. Same keywords there, hot and oppressive heat. That's what's going to be in the forecast all throughout this week here. Thankfully, looking at our temperatures, though, still remaining towards the range of near average conditions, but things are still going to be feeling very hot with those feel temperatures reaching a little bit beyond the lower 100s for us throughout some neighborhoods. Also, we have that next round of Saharan dust that's going to make its way into the coastal bend as you look ahead towards your Wednesday here in the midweek. Also meaning drier air is going to get reinforced in the area, so no beneficial rainfall is going to be expected in the forecast at all this week. Maybe with the help of the sea breeze, maybe a passing shower or two potentially there, but again, no beneficial rainfall really expected for us at all for us this week. So looking at our temperatures and feel like temperatures, like I said, looking at towards those lower 80s here already right now, waking up this morning, feel like temperatures approaching those lower 90s already too. through. So already indicating that we're expecting a hot one here in the Coastal Bend as we head towards this afternoon, pretty much similar to what we experienced yesterday or this past weekend. So looking at our hourly planner here today, we can see by 10 o'clock this morning, still looking at mostly cloudy skies, temperatures reaching toward those upper 80s, then reaching toward those lower 90s by 2 o'clock this afternoon, slowly approaching our afternoon high temperature of 94 degrees here in Corpus Christi, then getting towards our evening hours, and then tonight, going to see those temperatures gradually decrease from those upper 80s to then those lower 80s by that range. Also, you can see those wind speeds coming up nearby 20 miles an hour during our afternoon hours. So again, can still see a continuation of those breezy conditions from last week, still continuing on for us this week. Look at our heat risk. Like I mentioned, those flight temperatures reaching towards those lower 100s, maybe slightly beyond that throughout some neighborhoods. That does mean heat risk is still going to be part of our conversation, reaching towards that moderate or even major risk for portions of areas nearby Freer and Cotulla. They see that orange or reddish splotch getting a little bit larger as we look ahead towards tomorrow on your Tuesday. So heat risk is just going to be the name of the game as we're still dealing with that oppressive heat and humidity in the area. But like I mentioned, Saharan dust is going to make its way into the Coastal Bend as we look ahead towards late into your Tuesday or early into your Wednesday. So that means more drier air going to get supplemented and reinforced in our forecast. Again, taking away any meaningful rain chances at all in the forecast here. So no expected shower activity that's going to be truly helpful or beneficial for us here in the Coastal Bend. And looking at likely drier conditions even for the next 6 to 10 days. So we're entering a bit of a dry spell for us here in the Coastal Bend, and even looking at likely warmer conditions. Like I stated, things are going to be hot and humid for us here in the Coastal Bend. So over the next 6 to 10 days, maybe seeing some areas getting slightly above average in terms of what you expect for your forecast. So very quickly, going ahead and look ahead towards tracking the tropics. We can expect a bit of more moisture starting to build here with the area low pressure off the northeastern Gulf here. So can expect some heavy downpours throughout portions of the Lone Star State, or I should say the Sunshine State rather. So you guys can expect in that area, can see a bit of a 30% chance of development with that system at this time. But for us here at home, dry with more sunny conditions.
I'm John Mattery. So many of us would like to help the survivors of those Texas floods, but how do you make sure your donation is really going to the right place? We'll have some things you need to check before you give.
And you know the heat can make it hard for many neighbors to get out and exercise, but coming up after the break, we have some tips on how to exercise when it's hot.
Now, say hello to your neighbors. This is your Chris 6 News Sunrise Shoutouts.
Hello, Chris 6 Sunrise team. I'm Albert Sartuchev here on the west side at Hard Lives Bait and Tackle. I want to wish all my neighbors here in the neighborhood and the Coastal Bend a very blessed day from all of us here.
Hey, good morning, Albert and our neighbors at Hard Bait and Tackle on the city's west side. We hope you guys have an amazing day as well. And folks, if you want to send us your own shout out video, all you have to do is scan the QR code right there on your screen or go to our website, christv.com. So this probably isn't the first time you've been told that exercise is critical for both physical and mental health. But as temperatures rise, you may find it harder to stay active. Experts say continuing your exercise routine is important no matter the season. So in today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has tips on how to safely exercise when it's hot outside.
Your body's need for exercise doesn't take a summer break.
I tell my patients, keep active, make sure you're exercising, doing your cardio 30 minutes a day, with cardio activity, putting in some weight resistance training on top of that during the week.
Dr. Jesse Bracamonte with Mayo Clinic says that while staying active year-round is important, exercising in the heat can put you in harm's way if you're not careful. He says you have to be mindful of the heat, humidity, and dryness.
Just be intentional and be careful out in the summer months, particularly if you're not used to these summer months or the high humidity or the heat waves that come along.
If your exercise routine takes you outdoors, Bracamonte says to go out when the sun's not as strong, early in the morning or in the evening when it's cooler. And hydration is key. Before exercise, he recommends drinking at least 20 to 30 ounces of water to get the body started in hydration. And during exercise, rehydrating every 15 to 20 minutes to keep the body from depleting itself. And after being active, continue that hydration.
You want your urine to look like clear lemonade. That's a sign of hydration rather than dark apple juice color.
Bracamonte says to also wear appropriate clothing. He recommends loose, light material. And if you do exercise outdoors, find a place that has shade if possible.
Staying cool is really key.
Good 3.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
All right, now first taking in this gorgeous view from our Snoopy Spear Sky Cam sponsored by CCAC. Got gorgeous hues of that sunrise right now. Maybe a little bit of a contributor from that light plume of Saharan dust that's making its way throughout some portions of coastal Bend at this hour. Either way, starting to see a little bit of breaks of that cloud cover too, indicating that we can expect eventually some mostly sunny conditions by this afternoon. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our planner for today. Again, looking at mostly cloudy conditions that will extend eventually towards this morning and heading towards this afternoon. Going to see some more sunshine later on by that time frame. You can see those temperatures also increasing towards those lower 90s, eventually reaching our afternoon high temperature at 94 degrees here in Corpus Christi. Now, in terms of our winds, they're going to continue to be on the breezy side, upwards near 15 miles an hour or more, with wind gusts maybe approaching a little less than 30 miles an hour. So still, either way, looking at a bit of a break from those strong gusty winds that we had to endure yesterday and as well as last week. Looking at our 7-day forecast, pretty much a carbon copy each and every day in terms of what we can expect conditions-wise. Still going to see dry conditions, still going to see mostly sunny skies, at least as we look ahead towards our afternoon hours each and every day. While our next round of Saharan dust that is going to make its way to the coastal Bend as we look ahead towards either late on your Tuesday or early in your Wednesday morning. That's going to extend throughout the end of your work week before things start to clear up, and we'll have less hazy conditions at that point by the weekend. So in terms of what we can expect in our forecast, oppressive heat that's just going to be all across the area here. Just want to make sure you're practicing all those heat safety tips to keep yourself safe all this week.
From Chris 6, this is 20 minutes of non-stop news.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in for our 20 minutes of non-stop news with the Hoffmans. I'm Brian Hoffman.
And I'm Michelle Hoffman. We'll check in with meteorologist Julia Quady in just a bit. But first, neighborhood news reporter Adam Beam talks to a pastor in Taft who's doing his part to help out those affected by the deadly floods in the Hill Country.
The tragedy in Kerrville has been felt across the nation, especially by some here at home. I'm your Taft neighborhood news reporter, Adam Beam, where people in this community have not only offered donations like these, but have also offered their faith as well.
For some, faith and community often become sources of strength in a time of crisis.
I'm praying for guidance for the people that are up there.
Pastor Steve Boddicker of Open Fields Assembly of God in Taft is leading a relief effort for flood victims in Kerrville.
It tears your heart open. It just shows you how short life is. I mean, there were people that went to sleep that night. They didn't see the 4th of July.
Since Tuesday, the people of Taft have collected donations ranging from clothing to food, along with hygiene products, to help those who have lost everything. But Pastor Steve says his mission goes beyond supplies.
Prayer gives us strength, and it gives us the knowledge that God is there for us. Keeping both feet on the ground.
On the ground, many in his community have responded by donating what little they have. The pastor compares those gestures to a biblical story of sacrifice.
But the lady came up and she donated to us, and she was actually a little embarrassed for it. It don't matter the size of the gift. What matters is, are we giving out of the right heart?
As the donations are loaded in to be sent off to Kerrville, Pastor Steve tells me he hopes this effort gives more than just supplies, but also hope.
Fear comes from, I'm going to say, our enemies. Peace comes from God, and that's what I'm trying to give people, is peace.
We have lots of information on our website for those looking to help those in Kerrville. To learn more, you can click on our website at christv.com or scan the QR code on your screen now. Reporting in Taft, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Adam Beam, for Chris 6 News.
Thank you so much, Adam. Appreciate it. So the images of flooding in the Hill Country are just heartbreaking, and has many people wanting to give to those who have lost everything. Scripps News Group consumer John Matarese has a quick look at the best ways to donate.
Those tragic floods in Texas have so many of us wanting to help and do something to assist the survivors. But before you donate, it's important to know where you're giving and to make sure your donation goes to those in need. Here outside this donation center, People touched by the Texas tragedy were bringing bags and bags of supplies.
We got clothes.
Randy Happy said it was the least he could do.
It's awful, those young kids and those girls, man, it's awful.
Melanie McGovern with the Better Business Bureau says always give to established charities you know and trust. If you're not sure, thoroughly research the organization before making a donation.
It's so important to make sure that the charity you're donating to is reputable, that they're able to get to the area, and that a lot of the dollar that you donate goes to the actual cause and not any kind of overhead for that charity.
She suggests typing the charity name into a search engine to see if it comes up and if there are complaints about the organization. And be wary of crowdfunding pages on social media.
Oh, they lost everything, we're raising money, it's my cousin or it's a friend of a friend. If you don't know the person directly, we will always recommend looking into that before making that donation.
McGovern's tips for spotting a donation scam: if they're asking for non-traditional forms of payment like gift cards, cryptocurrency, or through peer-to-peer apps like Venmo. If they urge you to donate right away, or if you receive unsolicited robocalls or texts. Then give what you can, like Connie Acra and her niece.
If the community comes together and everybody does a little bit, it helps a lot.
That way you don't waste your money. John Matarese, Scripps News Group.
Ever wonder what emergency warning systems are in place in the Coastal Bend? Amana Conejo in Corpus Christi speaking to an emergency management coordinator about what's in place and how this works. Deadly flooding in Central Texas has residents in Corpus Christi questioning how prepared the city is for sudden weather events. While some feel confident in the city's hurricane response, others say more needs to be done for flash floods. Emergency officials say they're using data and technology to plan and urge the public to stay informed through the city's website.
Hey there, good morning. Happy Monday. Going to be off towards a cloudy and muggy start for us here in the Coastal Bend. Right now, taking a look at our Whataburger Field Skycam, where you get the view of both of our harbor bridges, both new and old. We can make out those mostly cloudy conditions right now, starting us off on this Monday morning. But those clouds will begin to dissipate, allowing for eventually some partly cloudy skies and maybe some mostly sunny conditions as we head towards this afternoon. Temperature-wise, again, things are going to be very muggy for us here in the Coastal Bend. Dew point values are way on the up and up, reaching towards those upper 70s or even lower 80s throughout some neighborhoods. So that's going to really give us a bit of a sneak peek on the type of conditions we can expect, at least for today on this Monday. So we can see those temperatures reaching towards those lower 80s along the coast, upper 70s going further inland. But either way, feel like temperatures ranging from those 80s or approaching those lower 90s throughout most of our neighborhoods already this morning. But let's go and take a look at our tracking the tropics to see what's going on right now. We got this new area of interest that the National Hurricane Center is monitoring off towards the northeastern part of the Gulf here. So we can expect some major storms or even some minor flooding that could be an issue for portions of the Sunshine State, as those disorganized level of showers and thunderstorms could make their way for that area at this point. Right now, this area of interest only has a 30% chance of formation over the next 7 days, but we'll still continue to monitor it and see this. It could potentially end up being our next named storm of the hurricane season. But for us here at home, no rain going to be in sight for us today or for, in fact, at all this week, as we'll be looking at very dry conditions in place. Again, looking at a cloudy start, eventually going to see that sunshine coming in as we head towards this afternoon. Also going to see those temperatures reaching towards those 90s. Feel like temperatures skyrocketing above that, maybe even reaching slightly above those lower 100s, approaching towards 110s. At least we'll see that here in Corpus Christi with 106 degrees for our feel like temperature at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Other neighborhoods can maybe see slightly above that. We will see a bit of a break with our wind speed. Still going to be breezy for us here in the Coastal Bend, but have a bit of a decrease in terms of our gusty winds. No longer going to be in those 30s, now only going to reach towards around 25 degrees as we look ahead towards this afternoon. But with the help of that sea breeze, maybe again, possibly a couple stray showers here and there, but again, not looking super likely. Humidity, though, that is going to be in store for us all throughout our work week. No changes there for us at all each and every day. So oppressive heat that's going to be sticking around for us here in the forecast, with more Saharan dust coming in by the midweek.
Now, 6 things to know before you go.
All right, folks, it is time. We've compiled a list of 6 things you need to know before heading out the door.
Ground search operations in Hill Country were suspended yesterday after heavy rain and flooding in Kerrville. The rain and rising water levels prompted some road closures, and the National Weather Service says it's possible the river will continue to rise as rain continues. Rescue workers have been searching for victims of the July 4th floods that claimed at least 129 lives. More than 170 people are still missing. Some 2,000 local, state, and federal personnel are taking part in search and recovery operations.
Well, President Trump says that he'll make a major statement about Russia today. The president made the announcement during an interview with NBC last week. It's unclear what the announcement will be. However, the president has posed the possibility of adding sanctions, additional sanctions, that is, against Moscow for its continuing war with Ukraine. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate is considering a bill that would impose its own sanctions on Russia. It comes as Moscow upped its attack against Ukraine last week, sending hundreds of drones over the border and damaging a maternity hospital in Kharkiv.
So starting today, you could start paying more for ketchup, salsa, and other tomato-based foods. The U.S. is pulling out of a 3-decade-old tomato price agreement with Mexico. The move is to make way for nearly 21% tariffs on most Mexican tomato imports, and that could mean higher prices for Americans at the grocery store and restaurants like pizza parlors, anywhere that uses tomatoes, basically. The tomato suspension agreement had been in place since 1996.
We have some sad news to report for you folks out of the Bishop Police Department. The interim chief there tells us that Captain Tony Macias has passed away after battling cancer. We first told you about Captain Macias back in December. He had been told he had stage 4 cancer on Thanksgiving Day. Tony Macias had worked in law enforcement for nearly 15 years. The last 5 years had been with the Bishop Police Department. We send our condolences and prayers to his family, friends, and fellow officers with the Bishop Police Department.
And Corpus Christi police are investigating an accident that killed a young boy. It happened Friday afternoon near the intersection of Horn and Airport Road. Police say the boy was riding a skateboard through a parking lot when a car hit him while backing up out of a parking spot. The driver of the car stayed at the scene and called police. The boy was rushed to the hospital, but he didn't survive. So far, no charges have been filed.
Work begins today on a major rebuild of Huntwick Avenue. That street feeds traffic from Staples towards the HEB Plus store on Saratoga. So Huntwick Avenue will be rebuilt with new concrete pavement, new gutters, and sidewalks. The project cost, well, that's more than $950,000. It's expected to be completed in November, and of course the city says that the end result will be improved traffic flow and enhanced safety for drivers and pedestrians alike.
All right, good morning. Happy Monday. Taking a live look outside of our Skycam, our SPID Skycam. We can make out those mostly cloudy conditions, maybe a little bit of haze that's kind of lingering right now as we look ahead towards another slight round, tiny plume of Saharan dust that could be arriving over the next few hours. Looking at our tropical flow, things are moving well heading on SPID. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the tropical maps, see what you can expect on other roadways getting your day started this morning. We can see again, looking at things are moving well heading on Ocean Drive down to SPID and on Saratoga. No issues for your traffic flow on any of those 3 roadways. Moving on over to Flower Bluff, a little bit of a median speed that you're going to encounter heading in both directions going on Walter Road. All clear for the most part on Flower Bluff Drive, and also got some improvement happening, I should say, over at the gate at NAS Corpus Christi. Just a bit of a median speed as you get a little bit closer towards that gate, and then heading towards the JFK Causeway going to and from the island. Again, looking at pretty easy driving conditions getting you started on this Monday morning. That's it for your traffic report. My details and forecast coming up.
I'm Tony Jaramillo, your neighborhood news reporter on the South Side. Girls flag football is growing fast nationally, and now a local league is riding the wave of a popular sport.
Good pull, good pull, good pull. Oh, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. Oh.
A new opportunity is coming for young athletes.
There you go, good job.
The Rise Flag Football League will launch its inaugural season in Corpus Christi this fall. The National League did not have a Corpus Christi team. That changed when Jay Mouton started a local league. He got the idea while coaching his daughter and seeing the need for a local girls-only flag football team. The league offers divisions for girls from 3rd to 10th grade and includes a 7-game season. Another motivator, the sport will make its Olympic debut at the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. Mouton hopes to put Corpus Christi on the map for girls flag football. Rise Flag Football also has a boys league. For more information, look for this story on our website, christv.com. On the South Side, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Jaramillo, Chris 6 News.
Thank you so much for that, Tony. Appreciate it. So, folks, we have a vehicle recall to tell you about this morning. More than 850,000 Ford and Lincolns are being recalled over a fuel pump issue that could cause engines to stall. The recall affects a wide range of 2021 to 2023 models. They include the Bronco, Explorer, Expedition, F-Series, Super Duty trucks, Mustangs, and Lincoln Aviators. And, of course, Navigators. Ford is still working on the solution to the problem. Letters will be going out to the owners next week. Ford said it will follow up with a second letter once a solution to the issue is available.
Some bread sold at Walmart is being recalled. According to the FDA, Hartford Bakery issued a recall for its Lewis Bake Shop artisan-style half-loaf on July 10th. The bread was distributed in at least a dozen states, and the company says the bread could have serious health consequences for people with a nut allergy or severe sensitivity to hazelnuts. The FDA says there have been no major incidents or reports linked to the recalled bread. For more information, go to fda.gov.
Well, the price of stamps has gone up. Senior U.S. Postal Service Representative Martin Johnson confirmed Saturday that the price of the first-class Forever stamps will now be 78 cents. That's up 5 cents from its previous price. Johnson called the jump a, quote, rational and realistic approach, end quote.
Here's a look at what's trending now. The new Superman movie topped the box office over the weekend. James Gunn's Superman reboot soared to $122 million in its opening weekend. Superman topped last weekend's hit Jurassic World Rebirth, which grossed $40 million this weekend. A senior analyst at Comscore said Superman has differentiated itself from other comic book movies because of its lighter tone, sense of optimism that appeals to comic book fans as well as families.
I'm excited to see that one, actually. I've heard really good things about that Superman movie.
I think we have a list, though. The problem is every time we feel like we want to go to a movie, we're so tired and we don't want to fall asleep.
It's tough because then it's also like you try to figure out the timing when it's best, and then it's like, okay, you're either going to sacrifice nap time afterward to go see the movie, or you stay up late after nap time, go see a late movie, and then you don't get any proper rest. Oh, bless you.
Sorry. Trying to hold it in.
I was saying, like, you're just taking like a late night movie, but then you're sacrificing your sleep coming into work early to do Sunrise.
The conundrum.
Yeah. But speaking of which, I want to see that movie too, though, and I want to see the Jurassic Park one too. Yeah, they look like goodies. But in terms of any type of weather, you're craving some more air conditioning. Definitely want to go out, maybe go see an indoor movie for sure, because things are going to be very hot and oppressive for us here in the Coastal Bend. Looking at our view from our Snoopy Spear Sky Cam, sponsored by CCAC, making out mostly cloudy conditions starting us out this morning, eventually going to clear out to allow us for more sunshine as we head towards the later hours this morning and for certain by this afternoon. Those dew point values kind of explain a little bit of the story in terms of why things are going to be cloudy for us, at least starting off this morning, and why things are going to be off towards a very humid track here in terms of our forecast all throughout this week. Looking at our dew point values right now, all of us well into those upper 70s, well beyond to that oppressive zone. So, of course, moisture means cloud cover, also means higher feel-like temperatures. So things are going to be a bit muggy and sticky and oppressive for us heading out the door this morning, and for sure as we head towards this afternoon. But speaking of which, this morning, these are the type of conditions you can expect temperature-wise, reaching towards those lower 80s. Already can see throughout some neighborhoods. Those feel-like temperatures already hitting those 80s or approaching those lower 90s, specifically over in Port Aransas and over in the Bluff. Going further inland, have those 70s for your feels like and for your air temperatures right now heading out the door this morning. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and introduce our star for our dog walking forecast today to see what conditions you can expect for that. First, right now we have Jasper, just to impress, heading out the door for their dog walk. Now, I think Jasper might want to take off a few layers because, again, things are going to be off towards a very muggy start for this morning, and oppressive conditions will be expected as we head towards this afternoon. So we'll be looking at mostly cloudy skies to start us off, eventually clearing out as we head a little bit closer towards our afternoon hours. Temperatures also increasing towards the lower 90s by midday and by this afternoon, and we can see an increase decrease of those wind speeds, eventually going closer towards around 15 miles an hour as we head towards our afternoon and lunchtime hours as well. Now, a bit of a difference though, not quite as breezy as we had to endure last week, especially on Friday, seeing those wind gusts going upwards nearby 35 miles an hour. Not the case, thankfully, for us today. Only going to see our wind gusts topping out nearby 5 miles an hour as we head towards this afternoon, and then decreasing towards those teens as we head to tonight. So all in all, still breezy though. Same conditions that we had from this last week now into this week. Still looking at our high temperature reaching towards those at least lower 90s, approaching the mid 90s of 94 degrees. Again, getting to partly cloudy conditions after we get some of those breaks of the cloud cover that we're currently dealing with this morning. And again, hot and muggy conditions to be extended in our forecast for us today as well. Now, Saharan dust, we're not going to get a break of that either. That next plume is going to be coming in as we head towards either late on your Tuesday and extending with that larger plume really settling on in as we head towards your Wednesday. So that Saharan dust is going to reinforce more of those drier conditions. That's why we're not expecting any true beneficial rainfall at all in the forecast this week, even heading towards this upcoming weekend. So nothing really promising in terms of that. And looking at your 7-day forecast, we'll see pretty much a carbon copy of the forecast each and every day. Plenty of sunshine and temperatures in those 90s.
Good to know. Thank you so much, Julia, and thank you for watching us, folks. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Bye.